Hello everyone and welcome to MDEV 2025 Creator Conversations. I'm Tucker Hazel and today I'm joined by AJ Lowe, the Director of Engineering at PUBG Studios, and something I just learned, a little secret, one of the founders of MDEV itself. So we have a lot of stuff to cover today. AJ, thank you very much for joining me and welcome back to MDEV, one of many for you.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, but I also want to know a little bit about you and your role at PUBG, because that's, you got the jacket on.
Sure.
It's actually very snazzy. So, Director of Engineering, what exactly does that entail for you at your day-to-day work?
Yeah, it's really about setting the standard for our department. So holding the values, aligning the team in the same direction, and making sure that we're all contributing to the same goals. So it's a lot of that. It's sharing decisions, communicating within our department and outside, and then just collaborating with everybody to make the game the best it can be.
Yeah, but not only are you working on a very cool game, but you also did help found all this is part of you.
Sure.
That's part of it's your fault, frankly. So how do you think the two roles, the role you had working with the WGA and working to establish MDEV, and then being Director of Engineering, how do you think those two roles your skills might have transferred?
That's a good question. I think it's really just about being outgoing, I guess, trying to build relationships, both in studios and then across studios, to build a really strong foundation and network of game developers in this region. So, making games in the Midwest can be difficult, right? There's a lot less opportunity necessarily compared to some of those, industry
Hubs.
Hubs, if you will, like in California, Texas, New York. And so I think my interest in building relationships has really primarily been about providing jobs for people in this region. Yeah. And so if we don't network, if we don't reach across the aisle, if we don't build these relationships, then we're not creating opportunities for people to make the next big game.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you got involved with WGA and establishing MDEV. Number one, how long ago was that, and what was that process like of getting something so crazy like this started?
Totally. I think Madison region has had a long history of IGDA membership, but that's typically championed by an individual person. Sure. Somebody, starts making games here at one of the well-known studios. They realize there isn't that external connection or social network, and then they start driving that, right? So we've seen an IGDA chapter form here multiple times over the years, and I believe about 10 years ago is when we first started WGA, and that was just a collection of interested game developers in this region who wanted to do something that lasted, basically, but then was also for ourselves. So instead of joining onto a different trade association, we decided to create our own. And really the focus has been on building that community, bringing people together so that we can create those opportunities.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned some of the challenges of being a game developer in the Midwest, something that people doesn't jump to their minds that there's game development here, but so we know a little bit of the challenges, but what are some of the unique opportunities that there is being in kind of a non-traditional area of game development? What has that kind of meant in opportunities for you?
Yeah, I think it's about kinship, really, sure. And the ability to rely on others in this area. I think we've got deep roots in the region where people grow up here, they choose to live and work here. And really, there's this sense of identity around being a game developer in the Midwest, and we need to rely on each other. And I think that's probably our biggest strength is that it's not a collection of expats from elsewhere, right? Where they feel this lack of identity or they don't belong, and that's not true of everybody, of course. I'm making a generalization here. People can adopt their new life pretty well, but here in the Midwest, that's our identity. We're in it together. Yeah. If I have a game idea and I want to make it, then who better than the person sitting next to me to make it with? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what do you think there are? Sorry, let me restate that. Do you think there are things about Midwestern game development that people might not really realize? I'm someone with Midwest roots myself. My dad's from Omaha. I went to college in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Awesome.
And I didn't know, 5 years in
Yeah.
Nebraska, that there was any game development in the
Yeah.
surrounding area.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't, frankly, today, I learned that there was a PUBG studio in the
Right.
Midwest, right? So these are things that even me, as I'm tuned into the game industry, I don't realize. What do you think some of those things are about the games industry in the Midwest that people are just totally unfamiliar with?
Yeah, you answered it, really. That is, it's people don't realize that some of the biggest games of today are created here in the Midwest. We've got
Call of Duty, Apex
Yeah.
Legends, and PUBG all in this building.
Exactly. Yeah, and you've got a long history of game development, starting out of the university at UW there. The work that Midway did down in Chicago for decades. And so from, those groups, those teams, you've seen these studios kind of build around these like core IPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Raven and Call of Duty. You've got Apex Legends being created here. You've got PUBG. Mortal Kombat series is made in the Midwest. Fortnite is made down in Chicago.
Crazy.
And I think that's the thing people don't realize, that they're there and there's hundreds of developers working on these products every day.
Yeah. So what about MDEV here, this event? What has this event meant to not only you, obviously working on this personally, but to the studio that you're a part of? Any chatter around the offices, things about MDEV that excite the people working on PUBG? Again, one of the most popular games, but there's a soul here at MDEV. So what's that event? How's it important to your team?
Yeah, I think foremost, MDEV is a celebration of making games here in this region. I think for us, it's also, I'm thinking here. So foremost, it's a celebration. Secondly, a time to connect, right? To build those connections, to create opportunities. I think the endeavor of making games, it can be a little bit isolating at times. The game demands your focus and attention, and that kind of distracts you from what's going on around you, right? You don't realize necessarily what's being built outside of your local team in game, and MDEV is an opportunity to see what others are doing, right? To say, oh, I'm not alone, right? I'm focused so much on my game, and here there are hundreds of other people working on games right down the street.
Yeah, and that share a similar background and
Exactly,
experience and
yeah.
challenges and opportunities and all of that. But I'm also curious what you and your history here with MDEV. Have you been to every one of the events?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's only grown, right? Every year we've tried to build it bigger and better, offering more talks, more exhibitors, more games on display. And I think we've accomplished that every year. Tremendous growth, and this is our biggest, best MDEV yet.
Yeah, all right. Well, I also got to talk about video games a little bit.
Sure.
We talk about the industry. What are some of the games that inspire you, either from your childhood, ones that really jumped out at you and got you interested, or ones that you're playing now that make you excited for the future?
Yeah, I use gaming as a way to stay connected to my family and my friends. So I have an affinity towards multiplayer games in general. I think a lot of people do, right? It's a fun time to share that experience with others. Modern games, like things that I really enjoy today, happen to be those like one mechanic co-op games that you play with your friends. Something like Chained Together. It is like an awesome experience where everybody can get it and learn it immediately, but like triumphing and solving those puzzles and beating the game together is like an incredible experience.
Yeah. And do you see any of that as you work on a game that is about a social experience? Do you bring that energy of wanting to make those experiences for others to PUBG?
Yeah, absolutely. I think PUBG really prides itself on how much we play our own game. So we spent a lot of time in playtests, right? Interacting with like the features that we're building. And I think it's always top of mind, like how does this work in a team dynamic, right? What creates deeper connections between players? What creates unique experiences or player stories? Like Like, what's a cool story that you can share, a cool clip that you might share on social media, or your PlayStation share button. We're always like looking for those opportunities when we're designing new features and building new mechanics.
Yeah. What was the first time that you got involved with PUBG, whether that was playing it yourself before you were working on it, or how did you get to work at the studio that makes one of the most played games on the planet?
Yeah, absolutely. So the story of PUBG in Madison, really, the genesis is just contracting. So back in the day, there was a senior environment artist that contracted and happened to live here in Madison. The studio grew around that person as we just added more and more resources and building bigger and better things. And speaking for myself, that's exactly how I got my foot in the door at PUBG as well. I did co-development for some time, worked with the team on making really cool stuff and shipping it, and eventually kind of ended up in a full-time role at that company.
Sure, yeah. And so what's the team size like for PUBG here in Madison?
Madison is upwards of about 90 people now, I would say. Yeah, it can fluctuate from time to time. People move on, new people join, but it's a pretty significant size team.
Yeah, all right. And having a team of that size in this comparatively non-traditional area, I bet that builds a sense of community, as you were mentioning. And so what's sort of the PUBG Madison identity as compared to, even you've got sister studios all around the world. How do you guys feel like you sort of stand out from the rest of the crew?
We're very iterative, honestly. And that might be a cliche answer in software development and games in general. Like, you're always building upon the work you did yesterday. But I think, we live and breathe those values of improving it and making it better a day at a time. And so our strength really is in that our ability to focus on the game, build something cool, and then test it. And then rapidly do that hundreds of times to make the best thing that we can.
Yeah. And what's it like working with a bunch of other studios across the planet, different time zones, different countries, different cultures?
Yeah.
How does that work for you and your team, being so spread out?
Yeah, I think that's pretty unique in our case because our headquarters is based out of Seoul, Korea. So we do a lot of collaboration with Seoul. There's a lot of studios worldwide that support PUBG, and also teams that we work with in Amsterdam, for example, New York, etc. And I think one of the challenges is there's always somebody working on PUBG, 24/7.
That's very funny. Yeah.
So when we're finishing the day, somebody is waking up and starting theirs, and there's a lot of extra communication. A lot of extra work that goes into sharing updates and information with those developers that are around the globe. The other thing that's really unique in our studio is we have an entire department devoted to the job of translation. Because we have a lot of meetings where it's people from different cultures that speak different languages, and we need the extra help and support to just understand each other, right? The act of sharing information, aligning, and moving the same direction is super fun, honestly, on a global scale.
Yeah. Cool. And then finally, just to wrap up, here at this event, we've got a hallway of indies, we've got a hallway of bigger publishers and colleges that are having courses and stuff. So what is it that you're looking forward to checking out, people you want to meet, things like that over the course of the next couple days?
Yeah, I when I first got here, I went down that game hall, and it blew my mind how many video games are here today on display. So I went through that hall. I took note of a bunch of games that look super interesting. I needed to come back here to do this interview, but I'm very excited to go back there and play some of those games.
Sorry to hold you up.
It's all good. Yeah,
I know we just want to be playing games.
Yep. So excited for that, mostly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any that you want to shout out?
Oh, shout outs to the PUBG Madison team. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're our family, so.
Excellent. All right, AJ, thank you very much for joining me, teaching me a little bit about PUBG, about you and your history, and MDEV and Midwest. You kind of covered everything. So, frankly, all the other interviews, throw them out the window. We got the perfect one here.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for joining me, and everyone else, stick around for more creator conversations from MDEV 2025.